Killers who got away with murder. What happened? When I was 26, I moved into this cheap duplex with walls so thin I could hear my neighbor flush his toilet. The guy next door was Dennis, probably in his 50s. Always wore these thick rubber gloves, even when it was 95 degrees outside. His whole house smelled like bleach mixed with something else I couldn't place. Dennis seemed harmless enough. We'd chat over the fence sometimes. He told me he used to work in meat processing and still had this huge industrial freezer in his garage. Said he liked to stock up on deer meat when it was cheap. One afternoon, my dog Bandit got loose and ran straight into Dennis's backyard. I hopped the fence to grab him, and that's when I saw Dennis's garage door was wide open. The freezer was right there, this massive thing, locked with 3 heavy chains. The smell that hit me almost made me puke. It was like rotten meat mixed with cleaning chemicals. Dennis appeared behind me so quietly it made me jump. He smiled this weird smile and said the power went out last week. Lost a whole deer he was storing. Real shame, he said. His eyes didn't match his casual tone. Something felt wrong, really wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that smell, those chains, the way Dennis looked at me. So I did what any paranoid person does. I went down a rabbit hole online. I started looking up missing persons in our area. What I found made my stomach drop. 2 women had disappeared in the past 5 years, both within 3 blocks of our street. Jessica Park, 28, vanished during her evening jog. Emma Walsh, 35, never came home from walking her dog. Both cases went cold. I stared at their photos until 3 a.m. Young, pretty, the type who'd trust a friendly neighbor asking for help. The next day, I bought an AirTag from Target. That night, while Dennis was inside watching TV, I snuck over and stuck it under his rear bumper. My hands were shaking the whole time. For 2 weeks, nothing. Dennis drove to the grocery store, hardware store, normal stuff. Then one Saturday night, the AirTag started moving. It traveled 90 miles north to some tiny town I'd never heard of, then stopped at coordinates in the middle of nowhere. I screenshotted everything and called the police. Detective Morrison seemed skeptical until I showed him the missing persons cases and described the freezer. He said they'd look into it. 3 days later, they got a search warrant. I watched from my window as cops swarmed Dennis's property. They found the freezer empty, recently bleached clean, but the AirTag led them to an abandoned hunting cabin in the woods. Inside that cabin was another freezer, and inside that freezer, they found Emma Walsh. The DNA confirmed it was her, but here's the thing. Nothing directly connected Dennis to the crime. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no security cameras. The AirTag evidence was thrown out because it was obtained illegally. His lawyer argued someone else could have used his car. Dennis packed up and moved 2 weeks later. New name, new state. I found out through a friend who works at the DMV that he'd legally changed his identity before. The worst part, Jessica Park is still missing. The cops think Dennis buried her somewhere else, but they'll never find her now.